How are we feeling about the Ohio State Buckeyes as national title contenders? Doug Lesmerises, Stephen Means, Nathan Baird. We all picked the Buckeyes, bunch of homers. All picked the Buckeyes before the season to win the national championship. Now they are 3 games in. They are not playing Maryland this Saturday. Nathan Baird, how has your view of Ohio State national champion changed after these 3 games?
My snap reaction when I first thought of this was, well, obviously it's less. I feel like it has lessened for me a little bit because some of the questions that we thought were big questions haven't necessarily been answered satisfactorily, whether that's defensive back play, whether that's some of the things with the running game, et cetera. On the other hand, it is balanced out a little bit by, as much as we theorized what this passing game could be, to actually watch it in practice right now is pretty impressive. I mean, what Justin Fields is doing with Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, and you said earlier on our podcast the other day that really nobody is covering either of those guys right now with any measure of success. So that does mean something, but I still would say that my confidence in Ohio State winning the national championship has decreased a little bit. I don't think the offensive line is playing as well as we thought it would at this point of the season. And again, just those defensive concerns are still there, especially in the secondary. I still think that might ultimately be the thing that holds Ohio State back, not from getting to the playoff, but maybe being able to beat a team like an Alabama or a Clemson at that level.
So you are down some small percentage.
Yes.
Stephen.
Yeah, I'm probably up about 5 or 10%. And some of that is because since we do that Alabama Clemson watch column every single week, I get to actually sit down and watch those 2 games as well and watch those teams. And they're having a lot of the similar issues that Ohio State is having. Their offensive lines aren't great every single week. They're giving up a lot of points, just like Ohio State's been giving up some points. And both teams have great quarterbacks and great wide receivers. Obviously, Alabama and Clemson have better options at running back. But for the most part, when you compare it to the teams that we're thinking of when we're talking about winning a national championship, everybody has kind of the same issues at the same point in the season where we're 5-6 weeks away from being in the college football playoff. And that's enough time for those issues to get worked out and to get fixed. And so I'm not as worried. I would be more worried if I was only looking at Ohio State's point of view from this. But when you compare it to the other teams, it's about equal. So I think I'm up about 5-10% on my pick that they win the national championship.
And I'm right in the middle. My views have changed, but I think everything's been balanced out. So I would say I'm probably right where I was, because whatever more percent concerning I think the Ohio State defense might be, the Ohio State run game might be, I think Justin Fields, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson are that percent better than what I thought they would be. Not that I didn't think they'd be great, but my gosh, I don't know how anybody stops them. I do think the one thing is, I haven't watched Alabama as closely as you have, Stephen, but that Mac Jones is no doubt a good trigger man for that offense. Makes me a little more Alabama. But then also, I think the Jalen Waddle injury for Alabama might take that away just as much. That, listen, I think Jalen Waddle is probably the best receiver in the country, and they lost him. I mean, honestly, think about if Ohio State lost Chris Olave. Yeah, you got more dudes. They have Devontae Smith and other guys there at Alabama, but I think a lot has changed for me, but the result is I'm right back where I was, because I just think it's possible that every possible issue that exists at Ohio State, Justin Fields is the answer. Justin Fields is the answer. And we thought we saw Joe Burrow last year have possibly the greatest season ever for a college football quarterback. Listen, Justin Fields isn't going to get to play as many games. I don't know what's going to happen with the Heisman thing. I don't know if they're going to win the national championship or not. If Justin Fields gets through the year completing like 85% of his passes, I mean, this is ridiculous so far. He doesn't miss. So that fixes a lot of stuff. So Nathan is slightly down. Stephen is slightly up. And I am slightly even, rocking along the way. But they're really good. And I don't know, does anybody think, everybody in the world, including the three of us, thought Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State coming into the year. Does anybody think anyone has entered the picture, any other team has entered the picture enough to a degree that affects anything you think about Ohio State? Nathan, is anybody out there lurking?
I think we do have to talk about Notre Dame as that fourth team this year now. Having beaten Clemson head-to-head, I know it was at home, I know Trevor Lawrence is missing. I know Clemson missed some other guys. They still went head to head with him on that field and won that game. I think that counts for something. It doesn't really affect what I feel about Ohio State, though. But I think that fourth team has, I think, sort of been answered.
But you don't really think, just because it's answered, I don't think Notre Dame can beat Ohio State, though.
No, I don't think that's an impediment to Ohio State winning a national championship.
No,
Steve.
Because Ian Book isn't the caliber of quarterback that Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, and even Mac Jones at this point are. But for the sake of saying that, maybe we keep an eye on Florida, and if they're able to pull an upset of Alabama in the SEC championship game, Kyle Trask is a solid quarterback. We see what he did to Georgia. That's a talented defense at Georgia. And so if quarterback play matters as much as we all know it does, if he can get into the playoff, maybe he's able to work some magic. If they can beat Alabama and Alabama ends up the 4 seed and Florida's at the 3 seed, then maybe it's a conversation. But no, Notre Dame, Ian Book is a good quarterback, but he's not in the same realm as these other 4 guys we're talking about.
And I do think it's possible. I think what both you guys are saying is that fourth team probably is better than what Oklahoma was last year when Joe Burrow took them apart with a 9 touchdown or 14 touchdown or 17 touchdown first half, whatever it was. No other contenders for this fourth spot have Alex Grinch, which is an advantage for them. So I do think, yes, there's some interesting 4-spot teams. I don't know that any of them are at Ohio State's level. All right. Next, rest of the season ahead, make sure you're listening to our Buckeye Talk podcast 5 days a week. Make sure you're reading cleveland.com/OSU. And we send texts. It goes right on your phone. It's free. For 14 days, it's free to try it out. Send the text to 614-350-3315. We'll see you later on our YouTube channel and at cleveland.com/OSU.